All right, welcome to the Liverpool Connection podcast. We are going to reflect, dissect, and be proper angry and mad about the performance today against Brighton. We lost 3-0. It was dreadful. The team sheet didn't make much sense to me. I was surprised by that. Anyway, we're just going to get straight into it. With me, I have Chris Delcross. I have Glenn Cooley, and I have Rob Hayward. So let's kick it off. Chris, 3-0. Well-deserved. Thoughts?
Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I think we mentioned it in the last podcast. We kind of felt like if this was the team, well, like the team selection, it was what it was. I think Núñez was a big blow. So we'll start off with a kind of on a like not a positive note, but not like crucifying them. Like Núñez was a blow today. He was badly missed. We definitely could have done with him up there. The boy Gappo kind of looked a little bit kind of slow.
Yeah,
kind of not quite sure where to be at times with that press, and I really think that in itself had a huge effect on the rest of the team, because once that press from the start is out of sync, lads then get pulled out of position, and they just went through us. They actually didn't even go through. They didn't even actually go through the midfield. They kind of either went over them or went around them. And I text you at about 30 minutes during the game, and it was like, where the fuck was Thiago going? And there was like 60 yards of space in behind our press that they just 1-2 couple of passes, they were behind us, and all of a sudden they were in the box, creating trouble. So I don't know. I thought it was just shocking. It was shocking from the team, but I think it was more shocking from Klopp, to be honest with you. If I'm angry at anybody tonight, I'm angry at him.
and Klopp said that after the game. He said that we changed the formation and we changed a few things, and it did early on in the game. It looked like Thiago was the one that was pressing and getting forward, but it didn't seem to work. It seemed we tended to slip back into the 4-3-3 again, but we didn't seem to know exactly what our roles were on the team, and that was obvious from the off. You know, you're thinking, okay, this is good. It looks like we're trying to get at Brighton, but within like 5-10 minutes, you could see it wasn't working. And it was I don't know what the fuck to say. It was really bad. It was bad all over the pitch. It's hard to pick out someone that had put in a good performance. Gakpo, it's early days. It's really hard to single him out, but yeah, it's hard for him to be thrown into a situation when the team is not playing well. That's never easy, but it wasn't great. Rob,
yeah,
thoughts on that? Thoughts on the game? What you saw?
I didn't see. I saw one football team, and then 11 individuals just strolling around, walking around, not completing the basic fundamentals of the game, which is the first thing you want any team you support to do is work hard. I don't think there was hard work. Didn't work hard enough. They weren't. I mean, Glenn's going to be shocked by what I say now. The happiest I was with Trent was when he smashed one of their players up when we were 3-0 down. He just showed some spirit there. Go and smash them up a little. If you can't beat them, fight them. But there was nothing there. That was as bad as we've seen on the club by a long, long way. And there's a multitude of options. People keep going, it's the midfield. The midfield. It's not just the midfield. There's not many words at this point. Glenn, what do you reckon?
So I didn't watch it live. I've watched a lot of it back.
Lucky fucker.
So some people might think it's a bit crazy to go back and watch it, but I think if we go back regarding the teams, because we had a big chat about it in the pub on Wednesday, and we were all saying that we all thought Keita was going to play, but we all thought there was going to be some type of change. So seeing the teams when they got announced, really, really surprised to see the same three start. But more surprising to me is the how high we continue to play. I just feel like and this is where the manager comes into it. We've had 2 against Wolves. We conceded 2 against Wolves. We conceded 3 against Brentford. We've conceded loads of chances against Leicester, loads against Villa. I know we ended up winning those games, but why are we still continuing playing so high? We don't have any forwards, so we don't have any forwards to compress anymore because we don't have any. We've obviously got the new lad in, which is a bit harsh, really. Him even having to play. Oxlade-Chamberlain is absolutely rubbish. We all know the problems with the midfield, of energy and stuff like that. Why are we continuing to play so high up the pitch and just create our own problems? And that, for me, is the biggest and most annoying thing. And that comes back to the manager. I can't get my head around it. I really can't. When a team's struggling and they're struggling for confidence and they're missing players, be hard to beat. Like what you were saying before, Rob, be a bit more. I would have done anything for a horrible, scruffy, ugly 1-0 Liverpool win today. And I just can't get my head around why we just create those problems for ourselves. So yeah, I don't know what you think about that, Julian, but
I think like you said, we discussed the Keita thing, and I know he hasn't been great for us. He looked good when he came on against Wolves in the week. He did decent, but he does give some legs. He gives some energy. He looked pretty good when he came on actually today as well. And I was surprised he didn't start against the Brighton midfield, which is fantastic. I mean, the Brighton midfield, as your World Cup winner with McAllister, has the Colombia Casado. I think I'm pronouncing his name horribly wrong, but who is really good as well. And the fact that we started the Fabinho, the Henderson, the Thiago, that hasn't worked this season. The first game of the season where we played, if you remember, away at Fulham.
All right, let's
and it was 3-3. That was.
Hold on. I'm tired of this banging the drum on the midfield.
And that's
it's all
part
about
of the problems.
It's not the midfield. Where does the press start from? Where does the press start from?
It is part of the problem. It's part of the problem.
Answer that question. Where does the press start from?
It starts with Firmino, right? And we miss Firmino.
Correct. You've lost
massively
Mane
as well.
We showed Mane, and we downgraded.
100%.
Bobby out. Now, Bobby was out all last year.
Yep.
At least you had Mane in the middle to cover. The press at the moment is non-existent because the front three are not working in tandem to put any filter on that ball. They're not pushing it anywhere. So all of a sudden, we're pressing in 1s and 2s. Even when Nunes plays, he's not a clever player. He's running around endless chicken like.
Right.
So all of a sudden, 1 or 2 go, and that leaves a gap in behind. All of a sudden, the midfield three have to rest. Now, I'm not saying the midfield are not part of this problem. They don't have the legs to do what is being asked of them, but it starts from the front. And nobody 100%. Is saying that.
And it says, and that's
I 100%. I 100% agree with. I 100% agree with you, Rob. But none of us 4 here know more than Klopp or are pretending to know more than him, right? So, like, if we can fucking see it, how did he sit there today and watch that for 90 minutes and persist? Like, he could have changed that. He could, like, it's grand. You know yourself. We all have a goal and we'll say, right, we'll do something, and all of a sudden it doesn't work, right? I think, you have to be humble enough to go, right, this isn't fucking working. Let's change. He could have changed today after 35 minutes. He could have went, let's either retreat, because they were all over us. They were all over us. They were steaming into us. They were getting it was like watching an under-16s team play a fucking youths team, where the youths lads were just coming and taking the ball off them and doing what they wanted. That's exactly what the first half looked like to me today. It's absolutely crazy that he sat there and watched that for 45 minutes. And then not only did he watch that for 45 fucking minutes, he fucking sends the same shower of shites out again to do the same thing for another 45 minutes until they go 2-0 down, and at 2-0 down, then we said, oh, well, let's change it up. That's bollocks. That to me is bollocks.
That was my original point. This isn't just something that happened in 45 minutes. If you're going to set up that way, we already know. We already know what that looks like. We already know we don't have the attacking players to do that and pressure the ball. So why then would you have then that gap? Then you've got gaps all over the pitch. It's absolutely wild. It doesn't matter what we do, if Keita would have started or not. Like you're saying, Rob, it's more of a case of we're so dysfunctioned all over the pitch.
Is it ego?
I think
Klopp's ego. He won't allow his team, and what I mean by that is he won't allow his team to sit back and, like you said at the start, get an ugly 1-0 win. All right, the way to do that is sit back in, get yourself compact, mean, nasty, hard to beat, hit on the counter with Salah's pace, Ox's pace, if there is much pace there left after his knee, and just win a different way. But I don't. It seems like we are not even trying to win that different way.
But you say that about the ego. We'd spoken on when we were in the pub the other day. We said exactly this sort of type of way, and we done that against City. And I was saying that if there's any team that's City light, it's Brighton. So why not just sit in and be a little bit more clever? The only problem that you've sort of got is you've not got Nunes' pace. You've not got Jota really or anything like that when we played them when we played City. So that's the sort of only thing. But I still think sitting in and being like 4-1, 4-1, maybe putting Salah through the middle or whoever it may be, and just playing up to like 60, 70 minutes, being a bit more solid and looking to try and go long and go put the ball in the corners more and just play a little bit more uglier. But I don't think it's an ego thing. One thing you've got to remember as well, when we had the problems with the centre backs, we never changed the way we played then either. We never changed the way we played.
So then you got to ask yourself. Then does he have, like, can he play a different way?
We tried, didn't he? I mean, we tried earlier this season with like a variation on the 4-2-3-1, and that didn't really work. And then we went to a 4-4-2. That didn't really work. And then we went back to the 4-3-3 before the World Cup, and that worked. And we looked pretty good. And that was when we had Nunes on the left, Firmino in the middle, Salah on the right. That was, and going back to Rob's point, that made a humongous difference when we had that. And obviously Firmino is fantastic, as we know, and he's massively missed whenever he's not in the team. That was probably our best performances this season, was when we saw that front three. Obviously, since the World Cup, we haven't had Firmino. He hasn't been fit. We've put Nunes in there, who has potential, but he's not a number 9. That doesn't work. So we have issues all over the pitch. I mean, there's a lot of problems everywhere. And give credit to Brighton today. Like, let's give credit. Brighton were fantastic. And Brighton like, I mean, if you look at the top 10, you've got Fulham in 6th, Brighton in 7th, Brentford in 8th. So you're seeing this shift. But Brighton were brilliant. Brighton were exceptional today. And the left winger, like, destroyed Trent the entire game. Like, destroyed him. It was dreadful to see how bad and how exposed as well, I would say, Trent was today, because Henderson, unfortunately, looks like he doesn't have the legs anymore, at least from what we've seen this season. But do
you know what? I was listening to their manager. I'm not going to say his name, I'll butcher it. But and he said in his post-match press conference that he's like, Liverpool played a little bit different, and Trent played a lot higher. Trent, especially the first 30 minutes, said Trent played a lot higher than what he would usually. And I thought, why? Why? That's obviously been a message. I can't get my head around it. Like, that left wing is really, really good.
Yeah.
Why would our mentality be, let's get Trent really high on that right hand side and try and look to. I can't get my head around it.
Well, the whole team, like, we started the first 5-10 minutes, we started really high, and Thiago was the one from midfield that was like pushing through the middle and kind of pushing the press, but it didn't work. And then we kind of dropped off a little bit because we were worried about the left winger for Brian, who was exposing us every time. And Klopp said it right. He said it after the game that we were confused. We tried a different formation, we tried a different setup, and it didn't work, and the players tended to revert back to what they know, like, hence the mess, especially the first half. But the second half was even worse. I know, Chris, you saw the first half, and then second half you went outside for a walk to kind of calm yourself, because it was that bad.
Looked at the phone and 2-0 down. I says, right, there's no point turning that back on. It's only going to get worse. But look, like, I was joking earlier. Well, I wasn't even joking earlier. I nearly still stand by that statement that I said before we got on. I can't remember a worse performance than today. Than a worse 45 minutes. I didn't see the second half, but I can't imagine it was much better since they scored 3 fucking goals in the second half. So it couldn't have been much better than the first half. Right. I think that was probably maybe one of the worst performances I've ever seen from any Liverpool team ever.
I think if you associate it as, I think there has been worse performances, right? There has, but I think if you associate it with how good we've been over the past 5-6 years, then out of that era, one of the worst. Yes, one of the worst.
Here are some of the stats for this fucking game, and I'm not a stats guy. I fucking hate them. But this is bad. Now, bear in mind, we're playing fucking Brighton. We're not playing City, or we're not playing fucking a flying Arsenal. We're playing fucking Brighton. Now, they're playing well, but it's still fucking Brighton. Brighton had 62% of the possession, did 16 shots, did 9 shots on target, right? Liverpool, 38% possession against fucking Brighton. 6 shots, 2 on target for 90 fucking minutes of fucking football. Now, here's where it gets real fucking bad. Passes. Brighton had 635. We had 391. We completed 320 of those passes. 320 passes in a game of football. I think the average is somewhere around 400. Like for an average team, I think it's around 450 or 460 passes per game. Like, that's fucking, no matter what way you look at that, that's shocking. And I don't care whether, like, it's Klopp, it's Hodgson, it's fucking Roy Evans, it's whoever the fuck you want in charge. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. And how he sat there for 70 minutes and watched that shite for 70 minutes without fucking making a change is absolutely beyond comprehension, in my opinion.
Here's the worry. What did Klopp look like every time the camera went to him on the sideline? What was he doing?
I don't know.
He wasn't doing that.
He was standing still. He was standing still. He wasn't
doing a lot.
Screaming, basically. That was it. 2
or 3 years ago, he's up and down. He's screaming, he's shouting, he's cajoling his team to work, to do this, do that. He doesn't look like he has it there. He didn't have it. He knows the team is on such a decline right now. And I think he was almost a deer in the headlights at the end, which is a real worry. And that begs the question, is Klopp's time coming to an end? Let's ask the question that a lot of people are thinking they won't voice it, because it's Klopp. He's done magical things for the club on a shoestring budget, but that's for another day. I won't go off on that tangent just now. He's done magical things, but look at Dortmund. He did magical things year 6, 7. That was his peak, his limit. Mainz, I believe, was the same. Is a Klopp cycle 7 years because he demands so much out of everybody around. He's fiercely loyal. A lot of the same players have been in that team for a long time. Just hearing that same voice could burn out. Is that a question? Look at the midfield 3. They've been together 3-4 years. Thiago, it was a little bit later. You then got your Matip, you've got Trent, you've got Robbo, you've got Salah. Are they tired of listening to the same voice? I don't know.
You bring up a point, because we look knackered and we look shattered, right? And that goes into the I think in the beginning of the season, like the miles that we had run per game was like the lowest that we've had in years. The lack of passing that we're seeing, that as well. But the team, and it's not just now, we look shattered at the beginning of the season against Fulham. We look the same way. And Klopp, of course, deserves patience. He deserves time. Like, that is completely fair. And for what he's done, that is completely valid. But he 100% deserves to be criticised as well, right? That deserves, like, and is allowed to happen as well. But the fact is, a lot of managers, they have a 5-6 year time frame. It's very rare that you get a Fergie, that is someone that's able to build and success after success. And we're seeing, is it the end of this team? It's, you look at that lineup, and it's a lot of the same players from like 6-7 years ago. right?
There's
If you
no
look at that.
question.
So
There's no question that it's the end of the team. That I like that team. That team is cooked. They are cooked. They're well done. Time to take them out of the oven and carve them up.
Who'd you build it
They're
around? Who'd you keep and build the next team around?
done.
Let's look at the midfield for starters, all 29, 30. There's not much sale on value if they're on the decline. So there's not much there. Matt, 30, you're not going to get much there. Robbo, I think you keep him. Trent, Glenn, what do you think on him?
Carry on. Next, honestly, I don't even know what road you're going down here, but okay.
Kanata, you keep him. I think Matip is going to be on the decline. Your midfield 3 is on the decline. I don't know about Salah. I don't know.
I mean, you're looking at you're looking at those new signings, aren't you? Because that's a key for where we're going forward. You're looking at Kanate, you're looking at Gakpo, you're looking at Nunez, you're looking at Diaz, right? They're the players that have been signed to take us forward to the next level. What we lack, and what we all know is what we lack, is who's the midfield, who's the new midfield? Because we don't need one midfielder, we need 2 or 3 midfielders that's going to take us to that next level. So to answer your question, it's hard to say. I don't see a clear direction. I don't see a clear direction for this squad at the moment, and that comes from leadership with FSG as well.
Much more than that. I think you need a minimum of 3 midfielders.
Yeah.
I think you need another 2 centre backs. I think you need another centre forward. I don't know about Nunez, what his position is here, centre forward. If you're going to play Nunez as a centre forward, I think you need to almost go big man, little man. Have a little Kenny Dalglish player in behind him. Have Nunez run around like a twat, and then
well, you answer your question
in behind.
In a little way.
Do you go back to a 4-4-2? I don't think you can get away with a 4-4-2 on a consistent basis at the top table. But the same, I think you need them 3 in
that
the
answers
field.
your question though in a way as well, because if with the amount of money we spent on Nunez and the potential, he does have huge potential. Are you building your team around how you're going to set up front? We've obviously previously done the 4-3-3 and it worked perfectly because Mane, Salah, Firmino just complemented each other brilliantly. But you bring in a person like Nunez, and we don't know what he is yet, right? Can he be that number 9? Is he someone that maybe is on the left? We don't know, but do you build your team around that? I feel like that kind of determined that 4-2-3-1 formation that we were trying to begin in the season. It was based around Nunez and how to fit him in, and it didn't really work because Nunez really looks better on the left from what I've seen so far.
Who's your number 10 behind Nunez though? Who's an absolute top quality number 10? I think Thiago's top quality, but he's not a number 10. We don't have a top quality number 10.
Okay. So, can I get in here because I feel like my head's about to explode, to be honest. But that shite, 6 new players. 6 new players is what I'm hearing. Right? Okay, sounds. So just forget that what happened 3-4 months ago. I know perspective and all that.
Oh, don't start on that.
It's
players are getting older. It's that simple.
I get that. I'm not saying that.
Let's go back to Fergie's last year.
No.
Last year.
6 new players. 6 new players.
He got that team to the title through sheer bloody willpower, and then it fell apart. This team is at the point of falling apart because they have the same players.
1 second. Just that era of the Premier League, different planet, mate. We're playing a totally different sport now. We're talking 90 points every season.
Really?
We're talking, totally different game. Totally different game. There wasn't a team that was owned by a state, managed by the best manager there's probably ever been in England. So, well, okay.
You're saying Pep is better than Fergie?
Totally different, but. Maybe other than whiskey, but it's a different type of time, isn't it? But what I'm trying to say is this idea that this whole Liverpool team is absolutely shite now. I just find it insane. I really do.
Well, have you seen the last 6 months? We're not talking about one game here.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying like a few more.
I kind of agree with Glenn. Like, I don't think that they're all shite, and I'm not saying that. And if I come across that way, that's not the way I wanted to come across. They're not. But there are a few of them that are at the end of their Liverpool fucking. They're at the end of the Liverpool road, and now coincidentally, most of them fall in the midfield sort of bracket. Now, what I will say though is, Glenn, the thing is it looks like he's bought a bunch of round fucking pegs to go in square fucking holes, because we've just said it. We at the very start of this is exactly how we started this conversation. Is we've got lads that can't do what the previous lads could do, or can't do it as well, or can't do it in that cohesion that's needed for that real Klopp fucking press, win the ball fast, fucking that high intensity football. But so he doesn't have that, and we said this the other night, he doesn't have those tools anymore, but yeah, he wants to keep fucking hammering at that. And I actually feel sorry for the players, because some of them players are being asked to do something that they don't either A, they don't know exactly what they're doing, and B, and I think this is more of it, that they can't actually go and do it the way he wants them to do it. But he keeps sending them to he's sending them to war each fucking game. He's going to go out there and do the same fucking thing again. And the results keep getting fucking worse and worse and worse. And now add in injuries to vital lads now as well. And you've got a whole fucking, you've just got a shambles. But no, I don't think that the entire team needs to be fucking march them out the door and good luck to you, and along with Klopp. But what I'm saying is Klopp either needs to A, fucking figure out that what players he wants, and B, then play to their strengths. He should be smart enough now to go, okay, because we can see it. We're smart enough to see that they're not doing what he wants them to do. Fucking play a different way.
So you hit the nail on the head, right? Not to use a freaking cliche, but there you go. But there's no clear direction, right? I don't see a clear direction. I don't see it with the signings either. I think that started. Now, Thiago is a quality player. He is a world-class player. But for a 4-3-3 to bring Thiago in, then you have to change the way you play to suit Thiago. That to me was the start of where it changed with the particular kind of signings that were made. And I don't see a clear. Even with Gakpo, like what's Gakpo? Is he brought in for 4-3-3? Well, no, that's not the way he plays, from what I understand. You know, he's too slow for that. He's not a presser or anything like that. He's more of a technical player. So there's been a distinct change with the way we sign players and who we sign. But this is part of the problem, right? Because we don't know what we are at the moment. We don't have an identity, essentially. That's what we're seeing at the moment.
So I would say when it comes to like Gakpo, I don't think they're looking to sign Gakpo now. I think they're gonna probably sign him in the summer, and I think he going back to sort of what we were saying before. I think they've got like an idea they're going to try and play some sort of 4-2-3-1.
Yeah,
and
agree.
Gakpo might be that sort of 10 player, or Bobby might be that sort of 10 player. With like Diaz on the left, Salah on the right, and then you've got Nunes as like a 9. And then like Jota's going to sort of be on the left or as a 9 as well. So I think that's what he sort of is, and I think that might come into a little bit of thinking of like signing people like Carvalho, because Carvalho's not a centre mid. Maybe he's going to be like a competition for someone that's going to play as like a 10. So I think that could be the way of how they're looking at it long term. Otherwise, it is a bit of a strange one, isn't it?
But it is like Carvalho as well. He fits into that same that you're seeing. You're seeing a shift in what the team is, and you are seeing that Liverpool is dead. The team that won the league, that won the Champions League, like it doesn't last forever, and you're seeing a shift which needs to happen. The question is, can Klopp do that, right? And will he be given the opportunity to do that? So anyway.
Let me just jump back in 1 minute. I'll give this to Rob. Well, to all yous, but so if City would have had, because I feel like City are sort of going through that weird little thing now with like don't really know sort of how they're sort of playing to like Holland, and so like we've sort of got that a little bit with Nunes. Don't get me wrong, or the way that our season's gone has been shocking and whatever, but I sort of do feel like they might be having the same sort of things with Holland, but they don't really know what they want to do. And I just think maybe both clubs are sort of in that sort of changing period. What's your thoughts about that, Rob?
We said at the start of the season that Haaland, that's a stranger. He's not a City player. I mean, City's attack has always built on that false nine, someone smart dropping off, creating little spaces in behind, and pulling defenders out of position, all that. And Haaland, his movement 30, 40, 50 yards from goal is not fantastic. He's more static. His movement comes to life when they've worked the ball into the penalty area. And his movement inside the box is just different level. And that's how he gets so many of those little goals, all kinds of goals. So I think you're right. And I mean, they're obviously in a little bit of a transition, not near as bad as us. But I don't know like you say, it's very confusing. It looks like, because all right, we've got a lot of forward options. I mean, granted, a lot of them injured right now. Are they as good as the Salah, Firmino, Mane? They're not going to be. They're not going to be. It's just, I mean, let's just be honest. So we've got to start strengthening behind that, because we've spent our budget for the forward line, right? I don't think we're going to go and just spend another 100, 200 million on the forward line. You wouldn't think. So what does our midfield look like? What does our defence? Which goes against what I was saying, that it's not just the midfield. But if we're going 4-2-3, what? Who's the two in that holding mids?
I mean, in an ideal situation, one of them is Jude.
He ain't coming if we don't make Champions League, is he?
And then the other one is Declan Rice. I mean, your problems are solved pretty much there. But
250 million on them.
But that goes back to the Man City thing. They're definitely going through that transition, right?
Can I just say something on that though? Ask the question: who are two holding midfielders? Not one person has said Thiago. Not one person jumped at Hendo. Nobody said us.
No, we don't. It's Fabinho. And he has no competition.
I just didn't say anything, but I would have said Fabinho. I think Fabinho's a class player. He's just having a fucking horrid time. Like, I mean, you don't become a bad player over fucking night. He's a good footballer. He's a good footballer. You put the right lads around him. Like when he had Gini and Hendo firing flat out, there was no better number 6 in the Premier League than him. I wouldn't write that fella off too soon. You put the right lads around Fabinho, and I think he's a hell of a player. I just think right now he doesn't have the lads. He doesn't have the legs around him, and he's been dragged into. I said this the other night. He's been dragged into areas of the pitch that he doesn't like to go, and he's like a fish out of water in some of them areas that he has to go and cover because the press isn't there.
That's any midfield, though, right? I mean, any midfield, it's all about the combination, right? It has to make it work, and Fabinho with the right players alongside him. It's class. He doesn't have that, and Fabinho has been poor this season. Whether that's partly down to his performances haven't been great, but it's also partly down to that midfield doesn't work. It doesn't have the legs in them. Fabinho needs legs around him as well for it to work, and he is massively exposed. And not to mention that those behind him, including Virgil, who was awful before his injury, was not great, and we've become even worse since then, which tells you like how bad we are at the back. Then no wonder Fabinho has been, and he has no competition, and that's massive for any player on the pitch. Like, competition is a huge motivator. No, not at all. Fabinho isn't a leader. No, he doesn't strike me as a leader. He strikes me as like Matip. Like, Matip's a great defender. He doesn't strike me as a leader as a centre back. He strikes me as a very nice bloke who's very good, but he's not a leader. Fabinho he's the same kind of mold, right? And it's worked because we've been brilliant with him, but we've got to that stage where the midfield isn't working, and Fabinho is part of the problem. Glenn, what's going on?
No, I don't really know what that's got to do with anything. That he's not a leader. What's that got to do with anything? He's been absolutely mustard for 4 years. But I mean, I don't really know what.
Because for me, number 6 has to be some kind of leader. Now,
is Rodri a leader?
Yeah.
Rodri's a leader. Fuck off, Julian. You don't know what you're talking about. He's fucking fantastic football. He's brilliant. Is he a leader?
Yeah. I'll never opinion as opposite friends, will you? If no, you get a bit snotty, don't worry.
Yeah, I see Rodri. He's in like the face of referees all the time. He's getting stuck in. Yeah, I don't see Fabinho doing that much. He just kind of waves his hand, does that, and walks away. So yeah, I think Rodri's leader. So we'll disagree on that one.
I don't know. I agree with Glenn. I think that's either here nor there. It's either here nor there. What he is. He's a good fucking footballer. That's what I know.
I know he's class.
He did the best moment of the game.
The reason I say about this, The reason I say about is he a leader? At this point, you watch him, he didn't have any intelligence in the game today. And what I mean by that, he could see that Thiago was beating in front of him, Hendo was beating in front of him. At that point, if you've got 3 or 4 coming on, I mean, it was a wash. It was a wave of Brighton players, 5, 6 going against 3 or 4. What do you do as a defender there? Do you step up to that ball or do you drop off and delay? You drop off the delay every single time. Fabinho goes and steps and presses, gets beat every single fucking time. If I'm a leader in the number 6 role, as I should be, I take responsibility, say, hey, lads, let's drop in. I talk to the people in front. I pull them into me. He ain't a leader in a bad situation. In a good team, he did well. In a bad team, he's doing fucking terribly. That's why you need a leader in that number 6 right now.
Right. I appreciate you. You absolutely adore Jack Declan Rice, so we'll crack on. But here's one for you. Over than Alisson Becker.
Chris likes him as well. Irish lad.
Other than Alisson Becker, who actually, and even Alisson, yeah, he's been good. He's not been. Who actually has played well for Liverpool this year? Well, I'm talking well.
Diaz before his injury was probably our best player.
I thought Harvey was before World Cup. I don't know if they're just pulling him out of the limelight. Robbo's always giving 100%.
Yeah.
But and what I mean is, like, and Klopp said it at the end of the thing. Like, somebody asked him about, I can't remember what the question was, but he pretty much said, like, no one for us has really had a great season.
I agree with that.
And that comes. So what my point was is, I just think, I don't want to say this for the rest of the year, but I just think mentally, and this is probably why we probably should have brought 2 or 3 in, just simply because mentally of last year just being so taxing. I just think for my own self of last year at the end of the season just being goosed. I only sat on my ass or in the pub watching the footy. Like, I can't even imagine what these players must have felt at the end of the season, just getting so close and not coming with it. I just think mentally they're absolutely frazzled.
It definitely takes something out of you. You know, there's no way you can dismiss that. 100% it does. You get so close to winning everything and being that brilliant, and then it all falls apart at the end. I mean, it's going to happen. That's part
never ever happen that ever again.
Well, I would never say that. I mean,
I mean, I'm telling you for a fact it won't.
We did the quad. We did the quad today, so in the 64th minute or whenever it was. So it will happen.
Was that when they came on?
Yeah, that's when we made the 4 subs. Yeah, which were way too late. Like you said earlier, I don't get why you waited. But then I look at the bench and I look, I put myself in Klopp's shoes. And I look at that bench. It's not much, is there? Really? It's hard to bring on a 17-year-old in Ben Doak, and then you got Elliott that's struggled since the World Cup, and Gomez that hasn't been great since his injury, and then the other one was Kate, and then Cater. So, what can you do? But anyway, we need to wrap this up because we could go on for another 4 hours, and it would probably descend into even more madness. So, Anyway, thanks, Chris Delcross, and your nice Simpsons lounge area looks comfortable. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Rob. Next game's Chelsea in the league. As Jason Cundy would say, it's El Crapico, right? So
got Wolves on Tuesday as well.
We'll see how that goes, and then we got the Wolves FA Cup game. But we will follow up. We'll do some more pods. Make sure you like, subscribe, also comment. Tell us what do we need to do to fix this. Let us know, and we'll respond and see if we agree, disagree, or whatever. So, all right. Thank you. Have a good one. Cheers.
Good talk, lads.